I remember the good old days. Yeah. Oh God. Good evening, caller. You're connected. Hello. Try that line
Good
again.
evening, good evening,
Good evening. Good evening.
good
You're there.
evening.
Yeah.
Mary got New Jersey locked in.
Mary got New
Pastor
Jersey
Ogie,
locked in. He can hear you.
Pastor Ogie, you ran away and didn't tell me.
Listen, I'm only here for just about a few hours now.
Yeah.
I have not even
Oh,
seen my homes yet, so but I'm okay.
all right. We'll talk tomorrow, God
Yes, we
willing. Good
will.
night.
We will.
All
Blessings in
right.
you.
Blessings on you.
Good night.
Get off the dumb side, get on the bright side. Resist the broad side, stay
I
on
feel
the Lord side.
you will do the talking points, right? You said. Okay, great. No. If you prepare to do it, that's fine. Go ahead.
In a few seconds, we're going to change our course and go into our talking point commentary. I know last week you missed it. So tonight, we ensure that we have somebody here to give that to you. So ensure that you get your notepads ready to take note of what is going to be said tonight. This generation needs some direction. Bring the solution, the brother connection. This generation some confusion. Bring back the solution. Thank you to all those of you who have connected with us, those of you who are connected with us tonight live on Facebook. Those of you listening via radio, good evening. Thank you for joining us. And we're going straight into our talking point commentary. We're going to do that in a while as we hear what is in store for us.
I hear the sound of rustling in the leaves of the trees. The Spirit of the Lord has come down on the earth. The church that says to slumber has no reason from its knees. But I responded to the fruits of new birth. And this is now a time for declaration. The words will go to all and everywhere. The church is here for the healing of the nation. Lost around the world, the body with expectantly. Things that the Father is not ready to fall.
Tonight we're going to take off tonight, and tonight to do the talking point commentary, I have Dr. Matthew Ogis who's with me tonight, and he's going to take over from here. Dr. Matthew.
Pleasant good evening to you, Pastor Dante. A great evening to you. And I'm Sydney Shaw. Let me take the opportunity to say a special good evening to those of you in Dominica, those of you in the Caribbean, and by extension, the world. I'm Sydney Shaw. Those of you in the tri-state area, I know that many of you are glued to your radio at this time. And I trust that tonight what I will share will be something that will be important and worth listening to. Now, I want to talk to us this evening. I want you to listen to me carefully. I know I've just only been here for a couple hours, but I'm thankful for that opportunity to be here this evening. And I want to talk a little bit about the cost of progress for a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, are we ready for the Dominica that we're building? The most effective topics that we have been listening to over the past weeks and months and probably years, I want to say to us, they are not merely political. The most effective topics are the topics that touch the everyday lives of individuals, hopes and fears and the future of ordinary people like you and I. And for those who probably, like Pastor Dante said tonight, they do not have a voice. Again, I want to discuss a subject that I believe is affecting and have affected every citizen, every family, every young person. Those of you wondering what the future will look like in the years to come, because it is not just about what we're facing today. You see, as a pastor, I can tell you this, and our topic on our subject every single Monday evening has been kingdom connection, and we take time to connect principles to the everyday lives of individuals. And so, again, what we're dealing with is not a que sera thing. It has a future in it, and we need to take time to build on what we're talking about. Across our island, we're witnessing, a number of situations. In fact, I hear people talk about the development of roads. I hear people ask questions about the expansion of probably not just roads, but pathways. I hear people talk about the rising of hotels, and we talk about the international airport, and we ask questions about its importance, and we ask questions about its timing. We talk about geothermal energy and the promise of greater sustainability in relation to electricity and power. We talk about new investments, and within all of these things, ladies and gentlemen, I would want to think that we're talking about opportunities. Again, these are significant achievements. They represent wisdom, they represent ambition, and a desire to move our nation forward. But amid the sound of construction, amidst the sound of equipment and excitement and probably uncertainty in questions, there is a question that we must not ignore. The question here is, are we preparing our people as quickly as we are preparing our infrastructure? Because while buildings can be completed in a few years, developing human potential can take decades. The true measure of national development is not simply what we build. It is who we become while we are building those things. An airport can connect us to the world, but can it keep our young people from leaving our land? A hotel can create jobs, but are our citizens equipped to occupy leadership positions within those industries? Geothermal plant can power economy, but who will possess the technical expertise to manage and sustain a generation to come? So you can tell my focus is more than just infrastructure tonight. And I say this because these are not, by the way, criticisms, but they are necessary questions. For if we fail to ask these necessary questions now, we may find ourselves in a troubling position of creating opportunities that others are more prepared to seize than ourselves. And so the challenge before us is not merely economic. And I want to say that again because I want us to hear this. Our challenge is not merely economic. Our challenge is educational. It is cultural. But more than that, it is generational. And I want you to think about this. And when I say generational, I'm talking about continuity and sustainability in a human development. Imagine a family builds a beautiful new home. The walls are strong and the roof is secure. The furniture is modern and looks elegant. But if the family itself is struggling, if they are divided, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, if they are unprepared or absent, what values really, or probably I should rather say, what value does the house truly hold for that family if they're divided? Likewise, a nation can construct world-class infrastructure, yet still face painful reality of losing its most valuable resource, which is our people. I want you to think about this. This is not about a UWP freedom and labor. This is Dominica. And this brings us to another critical question. I told you I'm going to ask some questions tonight that I want you to think about. What happens when the construction phase ends? You see, construction projects create jobs. They stimulate economic activity. They generate excitement and momentum. But construction is temporary. Because eventually, really, the cranes that we use to lift those heavy walls and steel, they're going to come down. The equipment, my God, is going to leave at some point in time. The projects are going to be completed. What remains afterward? Will there be enough skilled workers to sustain these industries? Will our entrepreneurs be prepared to take advantage of these new opportunities? And will our young people see a future worth staying in Dominica for it or returning for it? Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, these and all of our people require national answers. Parents must ask how they are preparing their children. Schools must ask whether they are training students for yesterday's economy or tomorrow's opportunities. Our churches and our communities, organizations must ask how they are helping to shape character, how they're helping to shape leadership, how they're helping to shape responsibility. And every citizen in Dominica, yes, I say every citizen in Dominica must ask, what role am I playing in the future of this country? You see, you realize I'm not talking just about what you see or what you're hearing, because there's much talk, there are much questions. Are we really asking the right questions? Because you see, development is not something that happens to a nation. And if probably I would come here tonight and make one statement, that would be my statement for tonight. Development is not something that happens to a nation. Development is something a nation participates in. Things don't just happen to us. And Kingdom Connection have always shared this with the nation, that we are not fatalistic in our views. We believe that things are purposeful and things are orchestrated in a way that God would desire for us to achieve and to accomplish those things. It is the possibility of investing heavily, ladies and gentlemen, in what we believe is so important to the development of this country. And so we do and must do everything possible to ensure that we position ourselves for where we're heading and where we're going. My God, the greatest danger facing any developing country is not a lack of investment. So I hear people talk about and asking questions of investment, but we ask the wrong question, because the greatest danger is not about facing development or facing a lack of investment. It is the possibility of investing heavily in concrete while under investing in our human resource, our people. Roads can be imported, machinery can be imported, technology can be imported, but vision and leadership and integrity and innovation, and of course, national pride must be cultivated from within. It does not come from outside. And that's why it's important for us. The future of Dominica will not be determined solely by the projects that we complete, ladies and gentlemen. It's much more than the projects that we're completing. It will be determined by the people that we are preparing, not the project that we're completing. And so perhaps the most important question is not whether the airport will be finished. I know we've asked the question many times. Many times we've asked the question. This is not the most important question. It is not whether hotels will be built. It is not whether roads will be completed. In fact, the most important question, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, it is when the future arrives, will we be ready to lead it? Will we be ready to take advantage of it? Will we be ready to be the people who stands in the gateway and give direction? Because a country can build hotels and lose its talent. A country can expand its economy and still lose its identity. But if we develop our people with the same determination that we, my God, that we use in developing our infrastructure, then those projects will become more than just structures. They will become platforms for national transformation. And of course, that's what we believe. That's our conviction as the church. That's our conviction as thinking people. The future is being built before our very eyes. And so it's important for us to take time to think about these questions. So the question is whether we are building ourselves at the same time. So I want to say again, a special good evening to every one of you. For those of you who took the time to listen tonight, and I'm trusting that you will ask the right question. I pray that we continue to think not only about the Dominica that we are constructing, but the Dominicans that we are becoming. Again, think not about the Dominica that you're constructing, but think about the Dominica or Dominicans that we are becoming. This is Kingdom Connection again on another Monday evening. My name is Matthew August, and God's blessings on everybody.
Yeah. When I look around the world, what do I see? I see footprints that man have left on the side. Walking through time, I see books for ambition, pigments for imagination. And I ask myself, when will it end? When will it end? It is plain to see. Universally, this land is not bountiful as it was. Simply because in this quest for success, nothing stands in man's way. Oh, river the right shrine. Soon the birds won't fly, the mountains will be no longer high. And when I really think of it, yes, I get wonder why. Why? I see charity.
Thank you, Dr. Matthew August. Thank you for that. What a grand entry tonight after how many Monday nights out. That for me, I really appreciate that. Good evening, sir. Good evening. Sorry,
Bless. Good evening to you, Pastor Dante. Always a joy to be back in Dominica. A joy to connect with you, and I'm certainly sure for those listening to us, it is a joy, and we'll get that opportunity, of course, to connect and make some introduction to a few things happening. And of course, thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you. Well, I have somebody online with me, and the people who want to know where their pastor, where we send their pastor, where their pastor is at this moment. So Dr. Randy, could you please greet the people and ensure, make them hear your voice,
A very, very good night to you, Pastor Dante and Pastor Matthew August.
Good evening.
Nice to see you, sir.
Pastor August kind of leave me on the tailboard, and I had to run off the bus because. So I'm glad to see him tonight and connect with him after spending some intense days together, right, Matthew?
Yes, intense but very, very rewarding.
Very rewarding, but very intense days together. I'm sure we'll be back there sometime. Very good night to all of you who make Kingdom Connection your class every Monday night. We're so happy to have every one of you join with us. And I apologize for not being there Monday last. I really tried. Both Matthew and I tried to be there at least the same way. But we just could not do that. It just was not possible. But I'm sure we left you in capable hands, Pastor Dante and Pastor Jack, who was there. Tonight, Pastor Jack is unable to To be, I understand, he's celebrating his mother's birthday. Please excuse Pastor Jack, okay?
95 years.
95, yes. His mother is 95 years old today, and he's celebrating his mother's birthday. And so, Nurse Dalrymple, your, how you call him again? Your prophet of common sense? Will not be there again, will not be there this evening, because he's doing a good deed that I'm sure he'd be happy to know that he's doing.
Yes.
Pastor August, if you mind me comment on your commentary tonight, I thought it was pretty interesting, and that's why I asked Pastor Dante to look for that old song from King Austin, the song on progress, because I think he captures your thought very, very well as far as that's concerned. And you will know that there's a Calypsonian in Dominica who sang a song, We Can't Eat Concrete. Somehow some of us think that infrastructural growth is the be and end it all of progress and development. Yet very many nations around us seem to have left the growth and progress of its people, the health and mindset of its people, the attitude of its people. In fact, quite frankly, they have even forgotten the fact that the people are what we exist for. The people are what we should be paying attention to. We pay attention to the high risers, and right now we're paying attention to electric cars and so on, and we forget the people. I heard somebody, I think it was one of was it Bernie Sanders in the US, made a comment with regard to the rise of AI and how it appears that the intention is to replace humans with AI. And he and other people have agreed that neither of those can replace the most important resource that God placed here. And somehow we are forgetting them in the milieu. We are leaving them behind in favor of other things. Quite frankly, Matthew, that's helping to kill us.
Yes, sir.
One of the ads that I look at sometimes that I laugh at is one of the insurance ads in the US, and it calls the semi one of the most deadly weapons on the road. But the semi trucks, the large container trucks, is what carries our goods from one place to the other, so that people can get it to be used. We really forget all of that. So I really commend you for that. I'm really glad that you have made mention of that this evening, and I'm hoping one of those days we'll have some time to discuss it, Matthew, if we don't do that sooner rather than later. I wasn't sure what Pastor Dante and Pastor Jack did last week, because Pastor Dante may have to tell that to us.
Right.
But
we have a special guest with us this evening, so there are lots of things in store, I can tell you.
Yes, I'm quite aware that you have a special guest tonight with an interesting name, I may add. So probably I can ask Pastor Dante to kind of reposition the camera, or maybe ask you to move to your left, August. Move a little more to your left, and let your guest come closer to the left as well, so that both of you can be in the. Did I say that right? You know, when I'm looking at this thing, I probably have it upside down. You know, Matthew. I was really intended that you move the chair right in that direction. Good.
Yeah.
And move the other one closer to it, so both of you can be in line of the camera. Come closer to him, Matthew. And right, come closer to him, Matthew. So both of you can be in that camera. Yeah. You look better there. And you look like you put on your makeup, Matthew, so you're good. You camera ready tonight. I probably should tell the audience, Pastor Dante, I'm going to tell the audience that what I see there is what Pastor Matthew is in a red shirt. Is that what it is?
Something like that. They say he's not colorblind.
I'm in my favorite color tonight.
Just wanted to make sure that the Kingdom, the listeners of Kingdom Connection have a fair idea of what you came back with. I'm sure they will create an opinion on that anyway. But nice that we can be together tonight, and very nice of you, Pastor Dante, to host us wherever we were and wherever we are. Thank you for doing that. All right.
You're welcome, sir. All right, thank you. You've heard, and the fact that the people hear the pastor's voice tonight, the telephones are going crazy. But we'll come to the calls in a while. But we want to get down to some business that we have here, and I'm going to allow Pastor Matthew to do the introduction of the guest that we have in studio with us. And welcome to all those of you on Facebook and YouTube with us tonight on Kingdom Connection. Tonight is a special night, so thank you for coming on. Those of you listening over your radios, over your TVs, those of you watching us live on Facebook and YouTube, you are welcome here with us right here in Dominica. Pastor Matthew, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Pastor Dante. I want to do this. Let's just take one call. I know all our lines are going and people are all over the world. Let's just touch base with somebody just in case people think that we're not answering our calls tonight. Go ahead.
All right, caller, you're locked in. Talk to us.
Hey, bonsoir.
Good evening.
Good evening. Pastor Rodney Lana.
Oui, Katano.
Ikatan mwen.
Bonsoir, partner mwen.
Ikatan yo mette mo dormi man.
Yo mette ki mette ou dormi la?
Actuellement mon kaka di la mo ka di mo di ici j'ai dit mi déjà. So ikatan yo mette mo dormi so ikatan mo ka nou be te abagwen eve la ripol.
Non, ou why ben boucherie en mitan ozo la.
Yo wala si yo pou la ka koute. Eve mo ka mande pou personne pa ka di mo la ouye.
Moi ale bo cousin Jack. Bo moun Jack Miley.
Okay, nou ke pale.
All right, good.
Okay.
Thank you. Blessings on you. Pastor Matthew, go ahead.
Yes. At least we touched your telephone. Just want to let everybody know, what those of you calling, that we have not neglected our radio or our telephone. That is, I'm certainly sure you can go ahead and call us. We will take your call intermittently, and we do have with us, of course, Pastor Randy is with us. He's not in studio, but he's with us. And of course, we do have two very special guests with us this evening. And I'm going to introduce one of our guests, and he will introduce the other person who is with him here this evening. I can tell you, you heard me talk about developing not just infrastructure, but looking at, of course, people development, and that's very, very important. And so this evening, coming from the beautiful Trin Island in the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago, we have with us this evening Dr. Ronald Brent Diet. And ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing, I want you to take some time to think, because this week, having them with us is going to be a great time. We want to ensure that we invite as many of you as possible to whatever you can do to be a part, and of course to take advantage of that opportunity. Dr. Ronald Brent Diet is an ordained minister. He's a peace ambassador to the UN and an internationally ordained chaplain. He is the founder of Kingdom Health Services, an organization that approaches health from a natural and biblical perspective. And he has been functioning as a holistic practitioner for at least 14 years. And there's a lot more that I can tell you about him, but I'm certainly sure as we move along, you will hear some of the different areas that he has worked in, what he's done, what he's capable of doing, and what his team is capable of doing. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you tonight Dr. Brent Diet tonight. Pleasant good evening to you, sir.
Good evening, Reverend Auguste and
Pastor Dante.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you for the opportunity to be live with you this evening. I have with me my sister, Monifa Andrews Haynes, my biological sister. And I want to thank all of you who are listening, those of you on the World Wide Web. I want to send greetings to you, to my wife, and to all you wonderful listeners. I heard you said something really interesting, Reverend Auguste. You shared about people development. Abraham Lincoln once said that the philosophy of education in one generation will determine the philosophy of government in another. And if we do not educate our children in the right way, in the right things, it would govern how tomorrow would be. So we must invest in our children, we must invest in our people and teach them the right things that is needed for the future. Helen Keller once said that the greatest tragedy in life is people with sight but no vision. Yeah. And we need to create visionary leaders who would not just have certification, but they will be truly educated and have the wisdom to carry on the next generation and take them where they need to go. And one of the areas that we need to educate our people is taking care of their health. You know, I have been practicing as a health practitioner for the last 14 years. And I've seen many persons, you know, we focus on infrastructural development, we focus on so many different things, and we ignore and neglect a key component that helps this vessel that we have function, which is our health. So I just thank you for the opportunity and, you know, for having me on. And it's my first time in Dominica, and so far I'm having a wonderful time. So thank you for having me.
Welcome. Tell you what, well, that's where you have it here, ladies and gentlemen. You've heard, you know, there are lots of questions that we have. I can tell you plenty questions that we're going to be asking you this evening. And I want you to stick glued to your radio stations, of course, wherever you are around the world, because like you've heard, this is going to be in Dominica. And I know many of you, those of you who are here in Dominica, you have, you are thinking, you are wondering, you probably might be, you know, asking yourself some questions, because there are lots of questions in relation to health. Where do we go from here? I heard you quote some very key individuals like Helen Keller. You know, you know, and those statements are very true statements. Now, I want to ask you maybe my first question, because I have about 30 questions.
Sure.
I know they're not going to be able to be answered tonight. I can see Dr. Randy's laughing, but you know, but I always come prepared, you know, with the things that I have to ask. One of my questions I want to ask is, you've served in ministry, you know, health, you know, business, mentorship, international leadership. Looking back, what thread do you believe God has been weaving through all of these different assignments? There's something normally when God speaks to us, and I'm speaking to you as a minister, and I can tell you've been involved. You realize I'm not getting into health yet,
yes.
But you know, all of these different areas that you've worked, because you seem to come with on the table with carrying a lot of stuff, you know. And I know based on just what I've read, and I only give the people just a part of what you know on in terms of who you are. But what is it that you've sensed or you've seen or you know over the years, looking at all of these different areas that you've worked in, that sort of weave the different assignments?
Well, what I can see, and as you said, just recently, a month ago, I was in Uganda. I actually had the opportunity to meet the incoming mayor of Uganda, and it's the first time in Uganda's history that he had an appointed Christian mayor.
Wow.
The mayor before was a warlock.
Wow.
And it's the first time in history that he had a Christian mayor, and we had the opportunity before he was sworn into office. We met with him, we prayed for him, and declared God's blessings upon him. But what I've seen in different areas, from mentoring businesses, functioning in areas, health, healing, and many other areas, is that common thread is preparing God's people to fulfill the assignment on earth. That mentorship, discipleship, and as you said, that people development is that common thread that I've seen in all of the assignments that he has given to me.
Wow. You know, many people separate spiritual health from physical health. Why do you believe that God designed these to work together?
Yes, well, health is three-dimensional. Just as we are three-dimensional, we have a body, we have a soul, and we have a spirit. And I'm going to share some deep things, especially as you spoke about AI. You know about this Neuralink that they're trying to develop to connect with the soul area. Now they're saying that human beings are now programmable. You can program a human being. So we have the body, soul, and the spirit. The body connects us to the physical realm with our five senses. But in our soul, we have a mind, our will, and our emotions. And then we have the spiritual aspect of health. And when it comes to the soul area, that mind, will, and emotions, different emotions affect different organs, and it can manifest in different symptoms and diseases. And let me explain. I've had many clients, they have gone to top hospitals, top physicians, and they do different scans, and they still cannot figure out what is wrong with them. And even the scan that we offer, it looks at something called the emotional matrix, whereby their emotions that persons are experiencing and is causing their sickness. So you're doing so many different scans and they cannot figure it out. It might be something emotional. And then you have the spiritual aspect, and it all comes together to bring holistic healing. The thing about that Neuralink that they said, especially with AI, it is now able to tap into that soul area that it can affect your mind, your will, and your emotions.
It's interesting, and Dr. Randy is there, and I know he knows what I'm talking about. I just completed just about 2 weeks ago, just completed a master's in human resource. Okay, and one of the professors, I actually literally took him up on that particular subject, because he made a statement defining AI as the omnipresent AI. And it was for the first time I was hearing the statement refer to AI as omnipresent. I always know that only God is omnipresent, and now you're talking about the whole Neuralink, and I'm saying, it's interesting. We had a discussion, and then he was able to understand, because he never thought of it, because they think, especially secularly, that omnipresent means just to be everywhere. But that's not what omnipresent literally means. In the spiritual realm, we know it means to be equally present. And that is the difference. AI probably could be present, but it's not equally present. That's the difference, which means AI is not qualified to be omnipresent. Only God is. And so, and that is the whole thing. But again, I know that we do have a lot of questions to ask, and I want to get straight into health, because I know Pastor Randy has questions, Dante has questions, and those of you listening to us in relation to health, we are facing in the Caribbean. I want to get head on with this. It asked you 2 questions on purpose here. We understand why we're here. We know the importance of these things. But we are having a lot of issues in relation to especially NCDs, non-communicable diseases. I mean, we have lots of those things around the world. And in Dominica, it's not no different. And we can talk about all of these non-communicable diseases that is stemming from the way we approach what we eat, what we do with this physical body. And I know from your side of knowledge in relation to health and what you are involved in, this is a lot that we can learn in Dominica, and you have a lot of answers to some of the major problems, and we're talking about all the way to cancers. And there might be some of you listening to me, you probably might be suffering in areas of cancer. You're suffering with non-communicable disease. You're struggling with pressure, and you're struggling with sugar, diabetes. Lots of things are affecting your life, and you're wondering how do you deal with those things. And I know you do have lots of answers. Question, I just want to put you right on the floor. Tell us a few things. I'm sure we'll come
firstly, what we need to understand is that God has designed the body to heal itself.
Right.
So we are taught that there are incurable diseases, and I beg to differ. I believe that once we create the right environment that God has designed, we give the body what it needs. In return, the body will heal itself. And that is how we approach health. We follow God's principles. We give the body what it needs, create that environment, and the body is now able to heal itself. There are many things, and sometimes just the smallest information can save your life. So, for example, in the radio interview I did, not Sunday ago, the Sunday before, there was this pastor in Trinidad, and I want to send condolences to his family. For about 9 months, his members were trying to get him to come and see us because he wasn't well, and he just kept focusing on ministry, kept focusing on work. And about 2 weeks ago, I went to Tortola. I went to a funeral service and to see some clients. And the Monday before I left, I left the Friday. The Monday, one of the pastor's members, he was getting some chest pain. So he called me immediately, and I made room for him, and he came in, and I treated him. I scanned him, saw what the issue was, treated him, and immediately he felt better. And then I directed him what to do. And that very day, he said, okay, we're trying to get pastor to come to you. I said, okay, I'm going to shift around things, and I will make room for him for 3 o'clock the following day, which was Tuesday, a Monday like today. And we called him, and his pastor said, no, he couldn't make it. And I left, went to Atola on the Friday, returned the Tuesday, and by Thursday, he got a heart attack and he died.
Wow.
And if I had seen him, there are simple things, simply as a herbalist, as a naturopath, one of the things that they always recommend you have on you is cayenne pepper, especially powder. If a person is getting a heart attack or a stroke, and you put a pinch of cayenne pepper in their mouth, it would immediately stop and prevent that heart attack or stroke. If someone got a gunshot wound and they're bleeding out to death, and you put cayenne pepper on that wound, that internal bleeding would stop immediately.
Do you want me to try it? I have a gun outside here and some cayenne pepper.
but there are simple things that if we know and we apply it to our health, it can make a world of a difference. And there's a course that I developed called A Physician or a Doctor in Every Home, whereby there's simple things that if you knew, it could save you spending money going to a doctor and a doctor's visit. And that course is intended to have at least one person in every home who can learn these natural and holistic principles that can save the family money, but also take care of their health. Diabetes. So there are a lot of non-communicable diseases, but between tomorrow and Wednesday, I'll probably try in the meeting to try and get at least 1 or 2 of our cancer patients to come and share their testimony, probably on a Zoom or even send a video recording and share their experience, because cancer is not a death sentence. It's a wake-up call that we need to make changes.
Hey, I'm telling you, and it would be great what we can do if we can get one of those testimonies probably in one of these areas, whether it's because I know we're supposed to be in the north, and we will share as to before the program comes to an end where we're going to be going this week, and we can probably do that so people can hear. And those of you probably might be struggling in these areas, want you to take note, because of course this is important to us. And as I move along quickly, I want to ask you another question here quickly. In relations, because we're heading into health here. I know this is a key area for you, and I'm certainly sure it's an area where a lot of people, might be asking or wanting to ask. What are some hidden health crises? I want to see if I can get to the church at the moment. Now, what are some hidden health crises that affecting Caribbean people that are rarely discussed in our churches?
There's many things. For example, men. A lot of men are experiencing erectile dysfunction,
right?
Even within the church, and because of the male ego, we say, if I tell another male this, they have the upper hand on me. I would look, as smaller than them. Then we have that area of stress. Stress is one of the key killers and key things that affect many persons' health. We have cancers, we have diabetes, hypertension. Yes, we may discuss it to a point, but we don't go into teaching persons, because even Jesus himself, whenever he ministered healing, he said, go and sin no more, lest a worse thing come upon you. And it means that they had to it required them to make structural changes.
Right. Very, very true. You're correct. I totally agree with you. To go and do likewise. Most of the times we tend to we allude the go and do likewise to sin. Mm-hmm. But that's what it is. It does require structural changes. And that is very, very important. If Jesus were if he was physically ministering in our communities today, what aspects of healing do you think he would emphasize that we often overlook?
Yeah. One of it would be that emotional aspect of it as well, and mental, and the will. Let me give you one example. There is this happened in 2016. It was the first time that I understood the importance of that emotion and will aspect to health. There was this woman who came from the US. She had cervical cancer.
Right.
She was in her 60s. Her husband was in his 70s. And we were treating them, and they were getting such good success. But their funds ran out because they were paying for accommodation outside by a hotel and travel and all these different things. So we needed 1 more month for his wife to get the breakthrough. And he said, okay, continue treating her. I'll return to the US. I'm going to work in the hotel as a bellhop.
Wow.
And I'll send the funds to you, Brent. And we continued the treatment. And when he left 3 days later, the wife said, I'm just tired. I'm fed up. I no longer have the will to push through. Even though the husband saw the results and returned to the US. And 3 days after that, she died.
Wow.
And we overlooked that mental and emotional aspect of health. One good example, and I don't want to be too long, because I know there are a lot of questions. The human body is electromagnetic. We function based on frequencies. We touch a refrigerator, a card, or a doorknob, we get shocked. Our body, our clothing would have static on it.
Mhm.
We have a frequency of 62 to 72 hertz. Whenever that body's frequency drops to 58, we become vulnerable to diseases. When it drops to 57, we get the flu. When it drops to 55, we get candida. When it drops to 40 to another, you get cancer. Whenever you hold on to negative emotions, negative experiences, negative words, it decreases by 12 hertz. So negative thinking and emotions begin to gradually kill you. And we don't focus on these areas.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm trusting that you're listening. I know that all our lines were going, but in the middle of the discussion here, we couldn't stop Dr. Diet from that point that he was sharing. That's very, very important. Of course, you can go to the telephone. We'll do as much as possible within our time to take your calls. And I know some of you do have lots of questions that you want to ask. I want to go to Dr. Randy. I'm certainly sure that he has a question. I do have a lot of other questions myself, but I want to go to him. Dr. Randy, you can go right ahead and ask your questions here.
First, let me say welcome, Dr. Diet, to Dominica. Thanks that you made that trip here.
Thank you.
I listened to your interview with Jennifer on Voice of Life some time ago.
Yes.
And I heard that you and I may have something in common.
Our spiritual dad.
How did you know that?
Reverend Obies told me. I actually worked at his clinic for 4 years and 4 months, sometimes almost 7 days a week. And he married my wife and I 12 years ago.
Wow. He was a remarkable man. I enjoyed spending time with him. And I enjoyed, what some of the things that he taught me. One of the reasons why I still do kind today is because of Dr. Beard.
Yes.
And he influenced me as well, that I am part of ECOSOC as well with the UN.
Yes.
And that was because of Dr. Beard's influence. Right. So, but I want Dominicans to know that when we talk about cayenne pepper, is what we call Pima Zuzio, right, August?
Right. That's what it is.
Which we have. And the reality about that, Dr. Diet, is that we have this thing all around and we don't really pay attention to it. Yes. We kick it around. I mean, it just grows wild in most areas. And people don't know how important that is. Now, and that's why I said Pastor Beard influenced me on this. He influenced me on having a lot of that, eating a lot of sardines. And because he just enjoyed all of that, whereas everybody else was looking for everything else. He says, no, why don't you give me sardines, I'm fine. Yeah, and his wrong provision. I want to ask you, though, with regard to the body healing itself and the fact that we have, in my humble view, diverted so much from God's plan for us in terms of what we should have done. I think that slowly people are getting into understanding some things about that. However, we have a lot of people in the world now that seem to be mixing it, and sometimes get into a lot of spiritualism with it. One of the points that you made that I have been talking about very, very often is that your heart and your mindset, your attitude towards life is a great part of your healing. But I'm sure you will know that there are others who use that and take you into some other areas that are anti-God.
Yes.
And then people begin to get influenced by other things. I want you to just maybe say a few sentences on that as well, because sometimes people hear that and they figure, oh well, I'm doing the right thing since I'm going in that direction. Because some people are sometimes easily influenced, but get down to the wrong path, which might seem a little easier for them. Would you care to comment on that?
Yes. Well, there's a very thin line between science and spirituality that is opposed to God. A very thin line. Even as a herbalist or holistic practitioner, I would have had herbal teachers who began to go into areas that if I wasn't a grounded Christian, they would use the science into astral projection and certain aspects of chakras and all these and all these different things that can steer you along a path. And once that path is open, sometimes it's almost impossible to return. You know, a possibility used to always say that there are some mistakes that are too costly to make because it can affect you and generations
to come. Yeah,
to come. So, as individuals, we have to be very careful and very cautious, and not everyone who may even be, and I've noticed that not everyone who may claim to be a practitioner or those who function in holistic medicine function from a principle that is biblical and that is connected to God's principles and his word. You know, even as I would have spoken about the body's frequency, and you mentioned, there's another aspect of it. So when the body's frequency drops between 25 and 0, death is introduced. When we think negative, speak negative, hold on to negative emotions and experiences, it decreases by 12 hertz. Whenever we think positive, speak positive, it only increases by 10 hertz. So thinking negative, speaking negative, hold on to negative emotions does more damage to your health than actually speaking positive. However, science now proves that when a person prays, their body's frequency increases by 15 hertz. So prayer is not just saying words, it has a tangible positive effect on our health. And then if you merge prayer with positive declaration, that is another 10 hertz. So 10 and 15 is 25. And death and life begins at 25 hertz. That's why the Bible says that death and life are in the power of the tongue. And that's where we need to carefully examine what we are being taught and ensure that there's a strong biblical and scriptural foundation. Otherwise, we'll be deviating and we'll go into areas that can be detrimental to us and to our family.
Thank you for that. Thank you for raising it, because I think it's a very important area to raise, especially these days where sometimes even within the walls of the church, people are deviating into all kinds of things and forgetting what God wants them to do. I'm really regretting that I'm not in Dominica, quite honestly. And it appears that you will be gone by the time I get there. Because I would certainly want to get on to what I heard you speak about in terms of the equipment. I don't know if you have that here with you, that could help people.
Yes, it does.
Right. And I want to encourage people to attend these consultations, meetings, whatever you want to call them, because I will have to call you to come back just to see me one of those days.
Okay, sure. And in those meetings, there are things that I cannot say on air because of the information I have.
Right.
But recently there has been a rise in viruses. We have the hantavirus. Right when I left Uganda and I went to Kenya, a few days later, they had the Ebola outbreak. And they have different things that are rising. And I'll be teaching persons natural things that they can do that can protect themselves from different viruses, that even the ones that may even come in the future.
I'm hoping that, Dominicans, I'm hoping that all of you listening, wherever you are, cracks and crevices of Dominica, even around the world too, if you do want, you let us know exactly, because what we're talking about, some of you have concerns in your area, you're feeling the difference in your body and your bodies, you're not sure what's going on. Guess what? We do have individuals. Let's go to the telephone and take this call.
Good evening, you're connected.
Hello, Pastor.
Hello.
I'm listening to the program.
Could you hold on a bit? Could you please lower down your device in the background, please? Thank you.
I'm listening to the program. Very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, that's what they wanted to say. The program is very interesting. Well, yes, definitely. We want it to be more than just interesting. We really want you to take make a decision about what you're hearing and ensure that your health, that's important. Dr. Daida, like I said, there are lots of questions to ask. How do you respond to critics who are skeptical about alternative health technologies?
Well, really and truly, even modern medicine has its root in alternative health. It was first out of natural medicine, and then they found a synthetic way to create something that is a lot cheaper and all these different things. Secondly, even with the scans, I would say to persons, let what I do prove its accuracy and defend itself. I don't need to defend it. Let what I do defend itself. And I've had many persons, even with the scans, I would tell persons, when you go to your physician, you have to tell them what is wrong, and they have to try and figure out the issue. And there's so many health issues with the same symptoms. For example, during COVID, a cough, there was no such thing as a cold. Everything was COVID, yes, even though you had the same symptoms. And with these scans and even the services that we offer, you don't need to tell us anything. We would scan you and tell you what you're experiencing. And then once you can confirm it, we recommend natural solutions, and you would experience the effects, the positive effects of it, and that defends itself.
Yes, sir. Yes, Dante.
You know, it's interesting that I've sat and listened and how he responded to the questions, especially with the natural way of healing the body, right? Because, and I like the fact that you define the fine line between spirituality and the word of God, because a lot of people would have thin their ears when they hear about the herbs or the natural remedy, because over the years people have scammed them with bush medicine and all this type of things, and you'd have an uprise of people. But I like the fact that you touched on that, but you also touched on an area that we've been shying away, especially in our Caribbean society, that comes with the mental aspect of it, especially for men. And I'm just reflecting because yesterday was just Father's Day, and then a lot of our men did die. Let's put it like that. They die because, one, the pride. They don't want anybody to know that this is what they're going through, and a lot of men afraid doctors.
That's true. In fact, the month of June is Men's Mental Health Month, and men are 10 times more likely to commit suicide than women. And it's an area that we do not focus on, men's mental health. There's a lot that we men carry that even women would not understand, and much more even pastors. And part, besides people in general, part of my assignment is also to ministers.
It's interesting that more women talk about the mental health, but more men commit suicide.
Yeah. 10 times more likely.
So if I may, it may very well be for the same reason that Dr. Diet mentioned before. The whole question of getting that peace with yourself, even when you're in the middle of war, is something that the scripture teaches us, doesn't it? That if our mindset in the middle of war changes, then we have won the battle quite some. But let me go back to some of the things that you have just touched on a little bit, because I'd really like our listeners to begin to see themselves in light of what you're sharing this evening. Because we, for example, have a rise in the occurrences of cancer, whether you talk about breast cancer, cervical cancer, prostate cancer, and we seem to be losing people more and more at younger ages, right, to cancer. Cancer almost seems like it's the current flu. And so everybody else you speak with, or everybody else who died, you will find a large percentage of them is cancer. And I'm going to ask you that question with regard to cancer in a couple of ways, so that you probably can dovetail into what some of the things that you want to tell us tonight. My mother lived to be a little more than 95. And I can say I publicly know she's dead, and she's my mother. But my mother was diagnosed with cancer when she was 92 and a half. Okay. And the doctors offered to do certain things to help her, either treat the cancer and everything else. And at that age, I made a sole decision on behalf of my mother to say, we're not going to do this. We are not going to go into any surgery at 92 or anything like this. And my mother lived for another almost 3 years, right? Following that. She always read. She never lost her wits. And she was living almost normal. She did not know, because I didn't even tell her that she had cancer, because I believe if I told her she had cancer, she would have died of cancer, right? And I'm saying that deliberately so you can follow my point. If I told her, Mom, the doctor said you have cancer, I would probably give her a month and she would have died of cancer. I didn't tell her she had cancer. Myself and my aunt, began to check her out and change some of her diet and so on and so on. She lived for an additional 3 years before she died at 95. Now, one will think that at 92, if we look at the scripture says, by reason of strength, you live for more than 10. And she was already living for 2.5 scores, if you know what I mean. What do you say to us when we see this is almost like a prevalent disease, right, among our mates? We're 30-year-olds, and I had a case of praying for somebody, I think they were 22 or so, and diagnosed of cancer. And I have buried people who are less than 30 years old who died of cancer. It is apparent that cancer is killing more people in Dominica than any accident or anything like that. How do you speak to us about dealing with ourselves in that regard?
Right. Well, firstly, based on personal research, I have come to the conclusion there were certain diseases that only mature older persons used to get. But because of change in lifestyle, you have young people who would get old people disease, as you would say, that only older persons would get. And even with the advancement in technology, let me give one perfect example. So those who are on air, I can actually show you. I have a radiation pendant. My sister, my wife, all of my staff, and we'll be doing a demonstration. One of the top causes for prostate cancer in men, breast cancer in women, cervical cancer is radiation from cell phones. Sometimes we have it in our pockets. You remove it and you feel a heat or vibration. And when we do that demonstration tomorrow, God's willing, and I bring the pendant and I show you what it does to block off that radiation and how dangerous radiation is. And I actually have a machine that I brought to show you how dangerous radiation from the cell phone is. You'll be blown away. But even with the advancement of technology, that has brought us closer, but it also created a sicker generation. It's the first time in history we have so many sick people than any other time in history, even though technology has been advanced. So simply use of cell phones, grounding, and I'll be sharing different natural, simple things how to remove electromagnetic pollution. Right now, there's electromagnetic pollution in this room. And it shows how the unseen realm is affecting this natural realm.
And I know Dr. Anizi, and I'm sure he understands that what we're talking about, that aspect very well, because and that's what the scripture talks about. What cannot be seen is even more real than what we can see. And you are so correct, because the unseen world it's already been manifested even before the seen world, and that's why we've been affected by things that we wonder what's going on. So even in relation to demonic possession and all of these things, people wonder what's happening. But again, there's an unseen world around us that is very, very real, and it is not just in terms of what we call quote unquote spiritual, but it also manifests itself in the areas of sicknesses and diseases that we cannot see. That's why Jesus was able to look at certain things and he would cast out a demon, and you wonder, but why would he cast out a demon for someone who is who's speaking funny, and yet he would say a demon? And and you would wonder that we probably might say as a doctor, this is epilepsy, but yet Jesus cast out a demon. But there's something, because there's a spiritual world that we cannot see. So correct.
Let me give you one good example. I have a friend, we were talking, because I do training with this technology. I'm the trainer and distributor for this technology in the Caribbean and the Americas. And a lot of doctors and nurses would come to me to train them. So I had a friend, I think was last Tuesday. That's when Mr. Ferguson and they were there. And he was doing some research.
Right.
And he went in depth into what is a fibroid.
Hmm.
And he exposed the demonic, the spiritual aspect to that. And he shared that if you go under a microscope and you cut a fibroid open and you look into it, you'll actually see like a face of a demon. It's actually where it wants to come in a human form, but there's a blockage, and it forms that blockage there. And that zygote, where it merges to form a human being, it stops there, and it's a demonic interception. And if you cut that open, you would actually see a particular face. I was blown away when he shared that.
So a lot of people believe that they're pregnant and they really it's just a fibroid. That, you know, I mean, it's interesting, very very interesting that we're talking about it. Let's go to the telephone and see what.
Connor, you're connected with us. Good night.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Why is it there's more emphasis on the earthly father than the heavenly father?
Could you repeat that question again?
Why it is there's more emphasis on the earthly father than the heavenly father? And why it is cancer is so common? Is it because of too much flesh?
Okay.
Or because of too much pest and pesticides we are eating or the food we're eating?
Okay.
That's the question.
Okay. Why is cancer so common?
Yeah. Well, there's so many things with the introduction of GMO foods, especially Monsanto's and all these different things. And one of the things, you cannot give a live body food that cannot reproduce. So if you have a seed that can produce one crop and it cannot reproduce, how could it give this body that is living life? And that's where we need to get back into organic, non-chemicalized food, even growing our own foods. And all of these changes has contributed to the uprise in cancer and many diseases.
You know, in the US, it's interesting that you're talking about. I mean, this is good knowledge for those of you listening to us. I can tell you, and lots of our people, we prefer the seedless, you know, because the seedless fruits they look better. They're much probably even sweeter, you know. And I can tell you, I was in New York just probably about a week and something ago, and one of my daughters, you know, she wanted to have this melon seedless. She asked what she considered. She wanted seedless. My wife is no, we don't buy those. We don't buy seedless, you know. And because the thing is, we understand the genetically modified foods out there and its repercussions. And you are so correct, because at the end of it all, why would we want to introduce something to our bodies that is supposed to be bringing nutrition to the body and life, and it itself cannot reproduce?
But it goes against God's original plan and principle. It must have the ability to reproduce itself.
You know, it's interesting. Most people listening probably have not read that, but the Bible talks about the seed-bearing plants, and it's something that probably you need to go back and look at it. You know, it is very, very true.
Mm-hmm.
You know, God placed a great emphasis on seed-bearing plants. This is interesting here, Pastor Rodney. I don't know if you have another question that you want to ask before I ask another question here.
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
We're entering into quite some stuff in that regard, and I don't know if we'll have the time to discuss all of them, Matthew. But it's interesting that we're presiding over a generation of people who look for the easy way out because the world has given us an easy way out. We look for the quickest way of doing things because the world has given us the quickest way of doing things. And we can go on and list those things. And now we are finding out, even by the same people who gave those things to us, that there are serious problems with them. Matthew, as you know, I worked at the Princess Margaret Hospital at the Central Medical Stores, where I was involved in the ordering and so on of drugs for the country. And having worked there, having been reading those things and reading up on the drugs and realizing that for every drug you take, for one thing, you probably have 12 side effects. And in the American society, for those who advertise the sale of drugs, they actually warn you about taking that drug because of the side effect. One of the things that I was very concerned about is that, you know, the world provides a drug for you when your mind is not working well, when you get stressed and distressed. And they tell you when you take that, one of the side effects is that you can commit suicide. Dr. Died, right?
Yeah.
Now, people do not readily make the connection because it seems that even the advertisement has a disconnect. How could you take a pill and you will have a tendency to suicide? And because of that, people sometimes dismiss it and they go right ahead and they take these antidepressive drugs and so on. And then you hear that they have found themselves in difficulty. Give us maybe a relation and a comparison on antidote, because somehow I probably have too much of a simple way of putting this together. And I really want you to teach me something this evening. I believe that the Bible tells us that we must be anxious for nothing, right? But in everything, by prayer and supplication and thanksgiving. And I think probably we pastors have taught it too simple because we have not yet fully understood the relation between that and what the world presents to us, for example, as pop a pill that should get you calm. But while you pop the pill that should get you calm, that pill is already predisposed to have you to commit suicide. I don't know if you want to give us some relation in that area, because of the mental area as well, and I'm sure there are areas in the physical area as well.
Yes. There's a book called Detoxify or Die by a woman called Dr. Sherry Rogers. And she discovered, and this is the American Journal, that more people die from prescription drugs than many other health issues because of the side effects. She actually related it to a jumbo jet plane crashing, which is a roughly 5,000 plus persons. And that's just in the US per day. And we know that the Bible said that the leaves of the trees are for the healing of the nations. And Hippocrates, he said that let your food be a medicine and let your medicine be a food. And when we go back to, so we're seeing here where we have God's wisdom and we have human wisdom. And when I did a course on essential oils, one of the things that I was marveled by is that these oils that comes from the leaves, the person said they're imbued with God's wisdom. It knows what to kill and what to strengthen. So unlike antibiotics that kills both good and bad cells or bacteria in the body, that's why when you use antibiotics, it has several effects and you need to take probiotics to put back the good bacteria. But if you use an essential oil, it will kill the bad bacteria and boost the good bacteria in your gut and help you to heal. And that's the difference with God's medicine and the medicine in the world. It doesn't have a mind. It's not imbued with God's intelligence and his wisdom. It's like a maniac. It just kills everything inside.
A quick question in that regard. Do you have any thoughts on the use, for example, of castor oil?
Yeah.
And then somebody's asking online about sleep apnea. What are the causes for sleep apnea? They're asking online. But castor oil is something that I want you to probably look at, because it's something as well that we did when I was growing up. Everybody was doing castor oil. No, I had to see it, right? And I understand that castor oil has a lot of benefits. I don't know all the benefits, so could you share that with us?
Yeah, well, castor oil has a lot. To get into all the benefits of castor oil, it will take some time. But what I can say is that when it comes to even fibroid cysts, some women would rub it on the navel area, and it helps with so many different health issues. Your hair, you had sinuses. So there are many uses. Some person would just take a little drip drop and put it by the eyes, and it helps with the eyesight and glaucoma and many other health issues. So there are so many benefits in using castor oil. The second, could you remind me of the second question?
I think you might be muted.
Sorry. The second question is what caused sleep apnea. And while you're thinking about that, I just recently, coincidentally, that there is something about the human gut that no matter what you put in there, it just remains. But if you use castor oil, strangely, rub it on the area, that castor oil somehow gets through your epidermis and get into the body to treat that. But let's answer the person's question first on sleep apnea.
Yes. Well, sleep apnea, it's caused by an obstruction in the airways, in the nasal passage. And because of that, so whether it's rhinitis, so whether infection, deflective nasal passage injury, all of these things, that is what actually causes snoring. When there is inflammation in nasal passage, it leads to snoring. And once you can deal with that inflammation or deflection, it would get rid of the snoring, but also it will also help with that sleep apnea. And there are different herbs, there are different treatment that can be done. I know a lot of people use the CPAP machine, but there are natural things that can be done to help with sleep apnea.
Okay, Matthew's already 7:26. I'm not in the studio with you yet, but I think it's 7:26, right?
Yes, sir.
I think we should begin to talk about where is Dr. Dad going to be and what.
It is. I have another question before I do that. I'm going to share with folks where he's going to be, but I wanted to ask you a question. While we've been speaking, apart from this, the question that I have, something has been just coming to my mind in relation to I know that there are a number of people out there listening. They're listening because either their mother, their father, their sister, their brother, cousin, nephew, somebody out of the family died with either cancer or probably one of the non-communicable diseases, and they might be thinking, chances are, I wonder if the tendency for my own body, to develop cancer, to develop one of these diseases, what am I doing? Probably they might not be feeling well, probably before you answer the question, I know what our line is going. Let's take that call and we'll come back to that question.
Caller, you're connected with us. Good evening.
Good morning. Good night.
Good night.
Yes, good evening.
The topic is very interesting. I was thinking one of these days, and I'm keeping reading the Bible, and I came to a conclusion of that. When I thought of Moses and the many people said they were going back to Egypt, and I was trying to track down the things that they eat, like the garlic, the onion, the leek, and all these kind of things there. And we never hear nobody fell sick in Egypt as such, and along the way it's because of disobedience and certain things there. And I said to myself, I wonder why we will not practice it in some of the things. They said the bread and some their leaven and the certain bread. And I started to follow that trend of eating with garlic, onion. I use a lot of oregano. I crush it raw, or whether it is anything, and olive oil. And I use a little, the other large leaves there. I try to use some little there in my food cells. That's the reason of stewing. I don't get involved. So I take my little meat, I put it, not very much meat, neither very much fish. And I put it in the bomb and put my cocoa, like cocoa and 20 ground provision. And I often on a little rice, like something. And I noticed that it is doing good. But people busy these days eating a lot of spaghetti, a lot of stew food, a lot of pork and this kind of thing. And I think that is where some of us get jammed, because I went today to do my checkup. No, I did my checkup at the hospital. With all parts of my body. And I went today to the health center to do my checkup, and everything was all right. Thanks be to God. And even my very day of my pressure, my everything, my sugar, everything was all right. So I guess I am going 72 years, going to 73. And I always have got, they teach me how to eat. With my medication, I have taken the medication. Before I take it, I pray over the medicine and talk to God, and then I take it out. And I use a lot of water. There are different things that we can survive, but people eat anything they want. And everybody also drinking rum and doing so. So I want to thank God today. at least I know where I am is good. And I'm trusting God is able to bring me through. Thank you. God will bless you.
Thank you very much.
You know, this is an interesting statement that the caller made, and that is something that I know we've dealt with. We have looked at it, and I probably want to be very open on that, and I want to maybe ask you a very open question on that. And we've heard a lot of Christians make statements, probably not the very same statement that she's made, but in different ways. Where, you know, doesn't matter what we're doing, if we, you know, once we take it, we pray over it. And that there's a I don't want to say a spiritual aspect or we spiritualize a lot of things, but we that happens to us a lot, you know. So once I'm taking the medications, I pray over it is going to, if a medication, and I want to be very open, you can, you know, I'm sure you can let me know exactly if I might be, and we have the doctor here, certainly sure he can, you know, rebuke me if I'm in that position to be rebuked. But if you're doing something probably that may not be right for you based on a medication that you're taking, because of course medication do have side effects like we talked about earlier on. They do have certain things that are, you know, the contents are interesting and sometimes damaging too. And we pray over it. The question here is, what do you think, you know, we should really be doing as children of God in that regard?
All right. So I'm gonna share one quick aspect. There's a guy called Jack Coe who had a tremendous healing ministry. He would go and he would pray for. They said that if you brought 90 sick, crippled person, you throw them up in the air, and at least 75 of them would land back on their feet completely healed. But he died at the age of 38 because he did not take care of his health and follow God's principles. So there are certain principles, certain laws, especially as it relates to health, irrespective of who you are. If you don't follow it, you would fall on the opposite end of it. It can kill you. So yes, I believe in the power of prayer, but that does not take away the fact that there are consequences for not following certain laws and principles and doing the right thing.
Yeah, and I'm certainly sure probably, for those of you listening, there just might be some natural ways, I'm sure, because, you know, that we hear a lot of people talk about healing, you know, the herbs for the healing of the nation. And I'm sure you'll get a chance to be able to talk to individuals this week in light of that. You know, I know the Rastas use that a lot to convince a lot of people that it is the herb that they're passing through their nostrils. You know, that is the healing of the nation. There's a lot of things going on in terms of that, but I'm sure there's so much to talk about as it relates to health and healing and wholeness. You want to take that call? Yes, let's take that call.
Good evening, you're connected.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, good
The
evening.
pastors in the house.
Yes.
I heard about the castor oil for the eyes when you have either glaucoma or the other one. I just want to know how you're going to use the castor oil in your eye.
Okay. Well, I would not, especially, there's so many aspects of castor oil you have to be very cautious and very careful with. And I wouldn't recommend persons just use castor oil like that. But if you have to use it for your eye, I would put it by the eyelids, like to the corner of the eyes and the eyelids. But there are other herbal remedies. For example, there's a red stem spinach.
Yes.
That if you juice it and you put it in your eyes, our mom, she was beginning to see blurry. And I introduced it to her, and the very next day, perfect vision, to the point that persons were asking her to make it for them and paying her for it. A simple remedy that I gave her. And it would help with glaucoma. In fact, my grandfather, he used it and he began to melt his cataract. So there are natural things and so many different remedies that we can tap into that is very safe. So yes, the castor oil, but if it's other thing for the eyes, I would quicker give you a remedy that is a lot safer and it's friendly.
And ladies and gentlemen, you know, brothers and sisters, this week is going to be a good week. You're going to have an opportunity to be able to hear, and firsthand, you're going to be able to see some things. You're going to be able to introduce to some things. It's a week of consultation, and more than just consultation, practical aspects in relation to your health. I know that health has been used, or at least has been said by many, as a use of a warfare, biological warfare. We know we probably might not get a chance to go into that in that aspect, but we've been hearing a lot about it. I've listened to radio programs where people have, said, that has been used to destroy a lot of people, and based on the chemicals, especially in the medical world, that the things that we're taking. And so if we're not careful what we're taking and think that we're taking healthy things, they are literally established, like the GMOs you talk about, Dr. Diet, that are literally destroying us. But this Tuesday coming, today is Monday, which means tomorrow, Tuesday, from 10 a.m., Dr. Diet is going to be at the Christian Union Mission Church in Goodwill, okay, right in the center. This is, not very far from the General Hospital. All right. It's right there in the Christian Union Church in Goodwill this Tuesday. We're sitting sure we're expecting a number of you to be there. And again, 10 a.m., the Goodwill Christian Union Church, Tuesday. He's going to be there from 10 a.m. and we're going to be there for the day. So we want as many of you in the Roseau area. This is your opportunity to come. You have questions about cancer. You have questions about, non-communicable diseases. You have questions about things that, that probably seem to be generic. And you're struggling. Your family members may have been going through struggles, and you're wondering about yourself. We do have something that can be used to be able to detect a number of things. We want to again give you an invitation to come. You have an opportunity to come, and I'm sure when you come, there might be other things that you probably might want to be aware of. You might have questions. From 10 a.m. on Tuesday, that is tomorrow, at the Christian Union Mission Church in Goodwill, right opposite the Savannah, pretty close to the hospital. Okay, I want to say that so that all of you know. Remember, we're not just talking about church. Anybody, everybody, tell Sue, tell Lou to tell who. This is the place to come, and this is my way of introducing this. And I see Pastor Randy smiling over there, but this is the way I am telling you. Some of you have a lot of questions, and I know you normally ask us a lot of questions, and we have to tell you we will refer to somebody else. This is an opportunity. That Dr. Diet is right on the island here, and you can have an opportunity to meet with him. You have concerns, you have struggles. He talked about earlier on. He talked about a few important aspects. He talked about earlier that people concerned about men.
Erectile
dysfunction. Okay, those of you struggling, you might be wondering, that this is it for you. Chances are you never know. Come, there might just be something that might, you might delve into that might help you in that situation. So please come on this Tuesday. On Wednesday, of course, we head to the north. We're going to be in the north. Those of you in the Portsmouth area, all the way from the coast to the north, if you want to head down to Portsmouth. Those of you, from Penville, Vilcars, wherever you are listening at this time, this is your opportunity in Portsmouth. He's going to be at the Reconciliation and Deliverance Ministry there in Portsmouth, very next to the National Bank. Is that?
Yes, at the back of the Ruby's gas station.
At the back of the Ruby's station,
yeah.
At the side of the National Bank.
Yeah.
Okay, right in Portsmouth, just before you get to the Indian River.
Yes.
So you can't miss this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I give you all of these areas so you know that where you can be. And that's going to be, of course, at 10 a.m. on Wednesday. So Wednesday, Portsmouth has an opportunity to ask all your questions, to be able to be there in consultation, to be able to come. And of course, there's going to be lots of things available. Some of you might want to even purchase some things, please come, and you have an opportunity to be able to go back with an answer, to go back with questions, and of course, questions answered, and some of the things that probably might be troubling you, you might have an opportunity to be able to go back feeling relieved. That's an important aspect here. Then we move from the north to the northeast, which is going to be our final moment in terms of traveling on Thursday. That is, we're going to be in the northeast area in Marigot, all right? Marigot and environs, so Calbishi, Woodfordale, Wesley, Londonderry, Melvin Hall, Concord, Carib Territory, and of course, Castle Bruce. You have an opportunity to be able to meet up with him down here there in Marigot at the Marigot Pentecostal Church, right there in Sam's Gutter. It's an opportunity for all of you. Have all your questions, concerns, comments, things that you really want to know, and you want to have answers. That's an opportunity that is making himself available. We don't always have him, and of course, like you've heard, he just coming from Ghana. You came from
Uganda, Kenya.
Uganda and Kenya.
Yeah.
Right, so just coming from Africa, and of course he's on the move. He's not going to be back in Dominica soon again, so you have an opportunity to be here and to be a part of that. All right, so again, that's an important. And of course, we come back to Roseau and back to the city again on Friday the 26th, and that's going to be from 10 a.m. And we're going to be at the Pavis office and Goodwill again, Federation Drive. That is just after you pass the Central Credit Union. Okay, it's just after you pass Central Credit Union going down. Okay, like you're going down to Roseau, it's at the Pavis office there in Goodwill. You pass the Central Credit Union just down the second house on your right. As you're going down, that's the Pavis office right there. You can't afford to miss it. The downstairs of that building, he will be there, and of course, he will set up for the entire day, hoping that he will be able to meet up with you. And of course, that moment we will end at 3 o'clock. We have cut off time at 3 o'clock on Fridays, so as many of you as possible that we missed on Tuesday. So those of you who missed tomorrow, you have an opportunity on Friday. Of course, don't wait until Friday because you never know what can happen. So you want to take advantage of the early days. I always believe in the early days. So do as much as possible as you can come, okay? And that will help us, right? So remember, if you're looking for the office in Goodwill, it's a white upstairs and downstairs building, with two black gates opposite the Premier Medical Services and adjacent to, I think, the Jehovah's Witness Kingdom building. So right there, it's an important place for you to come, and that's where he's going to be on Friday. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm trusting that you do. If you have any question, any concerns, please reach out to one of us, and we will give you that information again. But that's where he's going to be. Let's go to the radio and take this call.
Good evening, caller. You're connected.
Sure. So my first question wasn't answered. Why is it there's more emphasis on the earthly father than the heavenly father? Because there's a special day for the
Okay, caller. Yeah. This is a little deviation from our talk. That's a different question in that you're asking. We're dealing with health issues right now, so yeah, that's a little different. So we will answer that question when we're dealing with Kingdom Connection on a different aspect. But yeah, we can. That's why we answered your second question, because that's was dealing with your question. Okay, we never like to deviate when we deal with Kingdom Connection. We try to stick to a topic. All right. Somebody else is calling.
Good evening, caller. You're connected.
Yes, good evening.
And Pastor Jack and Pastor Randy and the pastor from Nigeria.
Yes, good evening.
Yes.
Well, he's not from Nigeria, though. He's from Trinidad.
I just want to give a little support on your whole health issue tonight. You're speaking about cancer, diabetes. It's a serious matter. I mean, you think it as a joke. If you go back 40 years ago in your village, wherever you come from in Dominica, you would see 3 people die for the year, and they would die at the home as pastor, and they just get 90 and 80 and 70, and they would be at the home.
Right.
But today, the church is having 3 funerals, like a block for the Queen, and it's a serious matter. If you just go back some years back, Carissa Asian spoke about a volcanic eruption under the medical health issue. I noticed, one of the things I noticed is not even attacking the older people, it's attacking more the younger people. To me, the younger people are more fragile. I don't know if it's because of the diet. And it's because of a lot of our chemicals used, even in the place we eat, they make from mercury, chlorine, lead, the plastic containers, the fast food, and Pastor Randy, you were saying that the beans, some of the food come from certain beans products. If you look at in the streets now, they make meat from the lab. If you look at just across Martinique, the Carota Sauve, Pastor Randy works in the banana industry. And in a place they call Soufouye, they plant a lot of bananas, like in Capestan, in Guadeloupe. And there is the highest rate of men prostate cancer in Martinique, in the Caribbean. And they say because of the lematone, the primicid, and the things, they would put it in the plane and go up in the air and spray. You look at when the helicopters were spraying in the river, when you go in the river, you'll see the water have a kind of rainbow color oil, and you go and bathe and you drink that water. And it was bad education. People would just take out the Gramazone bottle and just start to drink water from the Gramazone bottle because of lack of education. And the sugar, the salt, the digestion is too much. But I would like a program like this to continue after all your Kingdom Connection on a Monday. And I believe somebody out there to sponsor that. Get people that are knowledgeable, like you have Sister Nat, you have Deja, you have many other people like Bobby. Sponsor a program because this is a rapid thing, and the whole health system we build, like the hospitals we build them to depend on artificial oxygen more than the natural oxygen. They don't open balconies like the first hospital building. You would go on the balcony and you would inhale oxygen, which is very important that when you speak. So some of those little simple things you have to think about. Barbados cut back on importing sugar. 50% of Barbados is diabetic. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you brought figures there. The telephone line is going. Let's go ahead and take another call here because we have
Callers, do you have 1 minute with us? Talk to us. Good evening.
Good evening, Pastor.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Thank you when they are coming to Maragot.
When you want to know when we're coming to Maragon?
Yes.
Yes, we're going to be in Maragon at the Pentecostal Church. We're going to be there from 10 a.m. on Thursday.
At what day? What date is
Thursday this week. Thursday at 10 a.m.
Still at 10 a.m.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so
Thanks a lot.
yes, invite as many of the people as possible as you can to come because I'm certainly sure that's going to be a great opportunity for them. Okay.
Pastor August and Pastor Dante.
Just before you come in, Pastor Randy, let me just make this statement here quickly so that folks might be wondering also about this. This is also what we're doing is also going to be live, and we want everybody to know that. Okay, this session is going to be live tomorrow. Remember, I told you tomorrow we're going to be at the Goodwill CUC Church right next to the Savannah, which is not too far from the hospital. We're going to be right there, and the session is going to be live from 10 a.m. to 11 on Emo News. Of course, we know Emo News is viral around the world, and from 10 to 11, we'll have this 1 hour is going to be great. So we want those of you, of course, who are not there for you to, if you're not able to be there, to tune in. But remember, this is more than just tuning in. Coming there, getting something. Remember, there are going to be live things available. There are going to be things that you can see. The questions that you can have answered right there is going to be totally different. But for those I know just out of the country, unable to, of course, it's going to be live on Emo. We want you to tune in. I'm sure there's something you can learn tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 11 on Emo live. Yes, Pastor Randy.
Yeah, I wanted to. Well, I'm glad that you're saying that it's going to be live. And Dr. Diet, I'm hoping that your teaching session will be live. But are you going to have some consultations? And I know you said you brought the machine. Are we going to be doing that? And what are the cost implications? And before you answer, let me put it that way. Caribbean people like things for free. I don't know if it's like that in Trinidad. But Caribbean people love things for free. And that's why we are killing ourselves, because we like what we call here freeness. When we get things for free, we take it better than the things that we have to expend for. We don't like to spend for things, not even for health. And I want you to be able to share with the people that what are the cost implications, how affordable it's going to be for them if we have to do the scan. Like I said, when I heard you talk about it, I really wished I had not booked myself to come back that late, because I'd really want to do that with you myself for my own benefit. So give us an idea, please. And then I'm sure I can get to you off air as to when I can do the scan myself and how can I do it. I know I might be able to do it remotely.
Right. Well, actually, the scan can be done remotely. I was trained by a German scientist.
Oh, wow.
And you can do a scan through a photo, a selfie. Send me the photo with your name, your email address, your date of birth, and I'll scan you and tell you what is wrong with your body. And let me just explain that technology quick, because it could sound science fictional and spiritual, but it's very scientific. So there are wars that are taking place around the world, and these armies, when they go to war, they have technology that picks up thermal energy, thermal heat. So a person could be in a building miles away and they can say, okay, someone is in that building because they can see their body heat. We cannot see someone's natural eyes with our body heat, but there are devices that can. Similarly, the human body has a resonance, an aura, a biofield around it that our natural eyes cannot see. When you take a photo with a camera, that's why long ago you would see persons in the churches, they do video recording and it's so angelic presence. So our natural eyes cannot see this biofield thermal energy or around the person. But when you take a photo with a camera, it captures that. And within the biofield aura resonance has all of our health history, past, present, and future. And I connect it, instead of the machine, you put on a headphones and it scans your body. With this machine, I remove the headphone and I put in that aspect, that device or that attachment, print your photo, put it in, put in the information, and to scan you and tell me everything that is happening in your body. I can do it right in front of someone, so you can actually see it's not spiritual, and I can tell you exactly everything that is happening in the person. I've had that machine. The machine came out in 2017 when the scientists built it. I got it in 2018, and I was trained. I'm one of the few persons in the world who was trained by him directly. So it can be done remotely.
Thanks for that comfort.
We have a lot of, in fact, that has opened up so many doors, even during the pandemic, when persons did not know what COVID was and they were afraid. Persons were sending me their photos from around the world, and the machine was detecting who had COVID or not. And you can send me your fingernails, blood sample, any form of DNA, hair, saliva, and I can scan you. But I quicker use the photo because it's a lot easier. Where you don't have to pay to ship. You can just send it through a WhatsApp message, etc. Secondly, and I'm going to explain the scan and the cost. The health session where I'll be speaking, that's usually between 10 a.m. and 12 noon. There'll be a lot of information. When I go to companies, they pay me big time for this. I'm doing this for free. Some of the machines that we brought, you'll be getting treatment in it for free as well. Mm-hmm. So the only thing that I'm charging for is the scan, because it takes roughly an hour per person. It will detect any issue in your body. Very often, we would take a loan to get a car and other stuff, but we wouldn't take stuff, manage our resources for something that that is even more valuable, which is our body. You can't, we don't have spare parts available for sale.
We can't go to the supermarket to purchase any of those things.
Can I tell you, they don't make my model anymore, so they have no spare.
So these scans, so the usual cost of a scan is $500 US. One nurse who I trained in the US, she used to work in a mental hospital, and she began to be convicted because she had to tell persons that this medication is good for them, but she knew it wasn't good. And when she was introduced to the scan, she quit her job and began going, she opened a business in this area. And when she analyzed the scans, she said that one scan would have covered about 25 to 30 different MRIs and different scans. And she said it was valued at least $13,000 to $20,000 US. And because it's my first time in Dominica, I wanted to give a special. Just last 2 weeks when I was in Tortola, persons had paid the $500, but we're giving it for half price, $250 US, because it's my first time. And it takes an hour per person. So it scans your body, we go over the results, put together a report, go through a consultation, and then we recommend natural, herbal, biblical remedies to help the body heal based on whatever we see.
Does that answer your question?
I probably was a little distracted here because I'm trying to answer somebody's question that, in that regard. So what is it going to cost us for this scan in Dominica?
It's $250 US dollars. The original price is $500, but as I said, from the get-go, when I was contacted, I said, okay, it's my first time, and I'm going to give it at half the usual cost.
Okay.
Which is $250 US dollars.
All right, good. So people can know that. And do they have to make an appointment for the scan, or they come to the session and then initiate the whole scanning issue?
Yes, it's strictly by appointment so that we can manage properly.
Your
I
time.
don't want, manage your time and ensure that we can service the people. I know, so persons can message the WhatsApp number, which I believe Reverend Ogis would be sharing, and we can book the appointments based on the messaging me.
Okay, Pastor Ogis, I think we do share that almost like right away. We don't have a lot of time here. I do not know if we have another program coming
Yes,
this
we
evening.
do. Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. So we need to get out of here very, very fast. Okay, so probably should share the number that people can.
Well, it's my WhatsApp number. It's +1868. So that's +1868 318 7471. So it's +1868 318 7471.
And then you have
can you do the photo scan even out of Dominica as well?
Yes. In fact, I do it a lot. A lot of the times, because of my schedule, I'm traveling a lot. The person who manages that is my sister, who's right here. She's behind the scenes. But I thank God for her because of the freedom to do what God has called me to do, to travel the nations. Besides my wife, when it comes to managing the clinic, my sister is the one who helps my sisters and another young man who's like a son to me. They manage the clinic for me.
Okay, so we should give them that number again because some people are asking about it who are in country and out of
it's +1868 318 7471 +1868 318 7471.
All right, and you can contact him, and he will direct you from there. Not true, Pastor?
Sure, definitely. And of course, for those of you who probably based on where you are, you were not able to take the number down, you can always give me a call, and of course, I will share that number with you. It's not a difficult number at all. So if you're not able, I'm certainly sure if you can also reach out to Pastor Randy, and he will also give you that number, and Pastor Dante. I'm sure they will be able to give you that number. So make contact with any one of us, and you'll have that number. Again, remember for the consultation tomorrow, those of you in the Roseau area, that's going to be great. I want you to come as early as you can so that you can get a seat. We really want to do as much as we can to ensure that we open up for as many people as possible. Please tell, like I said, tell us your neighbor, those of you have your contact list, contact individuals. Probably some of them have they've lost loved ones, they're struggling, they go into difficult situations, whatever it is. You heard Dr. Dyer talked about not only physical aspect of and spiritual aspect of health, he also talked about the emotional aspect, and that seemed to be a very, very difficult aspect for us. So we want you to please take note of those areas, and I'm certainly sure there are some things that you will learn tomorrow and for the rest of the week in Portsmouth. Again, remember on Wednesday we're going to be at the Reconciliation and Deliverance Ministries there in Portsmouth, right next to the gas station, and of course opposite to the National Bank, right there before the Indian River. 10 a.m. again in Portsmouth. The Portsmouth area is going to be there on Wednesday. Please be prepared. And of course in the Marigot area, the Northeast Kalibishi, Woodford Hill, Wesley, and of course the Castlebrooks Carib territory. This is an important time for you to come and learn some things, get to connect, with what's happening with you. You have situations that you're going through. This is a moment for you to connect and of course get answers.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. This evening was a Kingdom Connection, I call it, with a difference, and it was my pleasure to host you all. Thank you, Dr. Randy, for being with us online virtually. Thank you, Dr. Ogis. Thank you for being with us here on Kingdom Connection. And it's our time to say bye-bye to you. Thank you. Until then, my name is Pastor Dante Adams, and I'll be back with you tomorrow morning for Rise and Shine. Blessings on you as we continue for greater.
We hang our heads in shame, we ask who to blame. All is more after moral decay. Leadership gone through, the police in askew, and the